In this presentation, we will set up a new service item related to rental income. We will set it up as we create a sales receipt. In other words, we're going to say that our store, our guitar shop, which currently sells guitars, we have guitar lessons, has decided to rent some of the equipment. We are then going to set up a new item for the rental of that equipment as we create a sales receipt for it. We will do this within QuickBooks Pro 2020, QuickBooks Desktop 2020. Here we are in our Get Great Guitars file. We currently have the open windows open. You can open the open windows by selecting the View dropdown and choosing the Open Windows list. What we're doing now is we're going to say that we are in our guitar shop. We've got our Get Great Guitars shop. We've been purchasing and selling inventory of guitars. We also have guitar lessons that we have set up. Now we're going to be creating a new service item. We could create that new service item as we have seen in the past by going to the lists dropdown, going to the item list. These are the lists of items we have. We have the service items, which are non-inventory items, then the inventory items. However, we're going to set this service item up as we create the sales receipt. So we're going to go back over to the Home tab. We're going to say that we're going to now decide to rent some of our equipment. We're going to rent some of our equipment, and we're going to create a service item for that. So we're going to say, hey, if someone would like to have a rental of some of our equipment, therefore we're going to say, let's set up a sales receipt for the rental item. We're going to go into the sales receipt. The person who wants to rent the equipment is Music Stuff Store, and that's going to be a client that we have had in the past. So we have some relationship and trust with this client as we're going to rent some of our music equipment to them. So we're going to say this is Music Stuff Store. If I select the drop down, or I could just simply type in Music Stuff Store and tab. So we're going to tab through this. It's going to be as of the end of the month, 2/28. So that looks good. And then within the item, this is where we're going to set up a new item. We haven't done any rental in the past, therefore need to set up an item for it. So I'm just going to call it rent, and then I'm going to say EQ equipment. And so we'll say tab. We're going to set this thing up, and QuickBooks paraphrasing here. Do you want to set up this thing because we don't have it? And we're going to say, yeah, we want to set it up. So we say yes. It's going to be a service type item. So that's the one we want. So we're going to say it will be a service type of item. And that's going to be the sub name. And then within the description, we're going to call it rent music equipment. We're going to have a rate for it of $4,500. And we're going to say it's going to be non-taxable because this is a service item. And then we're going to say, and notice this is something that might change because if you have rent on the music equipment, if you might want to break out a different item for different types of equipment you might be renting. So you might have a different kind of rate for each type of item. That's one way that you can set it up. So I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on that, but just note that if you're in the business of renting music equipment, you could label each equipment and give a rate for, an hourly rate for the equipment that you might rent out or some format such as that. Your goal is to standardize it. We're going to just put the $4,500 for the example problem here. And then within the account, this is the thing that's going to be a bit different than we did in the past, right? When we set up the service item related to the music lessons, we put them into the service of music lessons. And then we saw that we can break out in the detailed report the sales items broken out. This time we're going to say, hey, this is something that we would like to see broken out on the profit and loss statement. I'd like to see another line item for the rental of music equipment. So that means that we're going to set up not just the service item here. We're not just going to go to service income as we did before, but set up a new account. So now we're going to set up a new account, rent music equipment. And this is going to be showing up on the profit and loss statement. So we'll say tab. I'm going to set up the new one, the new account. It's going to be an income type of account, rent music equipment. So now this is going to be a new account that will appear on the profit and loss. We're going to say save and close. Remember, this is the decision you need to kind of think about every time you make a new item because you don't want to make a new account every time you make a new item. However, there might be a case that you want a new classification. What you really want to do here is make a classification of an account that will give you a good overview view and then get into the detail. For example, we might have multiple things that we rent out. We might have amps we rent out. We might label each different kind of piece of equipment that we tend to rent out, have a different rate for it, have multiple items for it, and then create one line item up here on the profit and loss report that's just called rental of music equipment. And then all those different types of things, all those different items would be falling into that one line item. That would make sense. Then if I want to see the detail of those items, we can go into the detail. What I don't want to do is have, rental of an amp, rental of a guitar, rental of whatnot, all on the income statement. I'll talk about that a little bit more as we then post this. So let's go save our OK. This is going to be our sales receipt. I'm going to put the quantity 1. What's this going to do? Well, it is a sales receipt. Therefore, undeposited funds is going to be increasing. The other side is going to be going to the revenue account. It's going to be going to the revenue account driven by the item we just set up, the new revenue account, which will be an income account for the rental music equipment. Let's check it out. We're going to say save and close. We'll then go to our reports up top. We're going to go to the reports drop down. We're going to go to company and financial and then scroll down to the balance sheet standard. Within the balance sheet standard, we're going to change the reports up top in the customized reports, and we're going to change them from 01/01/20 to 12/31/20, January through December 2020. Select that report. Then we'll take a look at the undeposited funds. There's the 4,500. Double clicking the 4,500, scrolling down. There's the 4,500 sales receipt. Double clicking it. We then see our sales receipt. Closing this back out. Closing this back out. Let's take a look at the other side, which will be on the profit and loss or income statement by going to the reports drop down up top, company and financial, profit and loss standard. Changing the dates up top from 01/01/20 to 12/31/20, January through December 2020. There's our new item, right? There's our new, not just our new item, but our new account that we set up here of the rent music equipment. Double clicking on this, there's our data. Now, here's the point on what we're saying with the items versus the accounts. Every time you set up a new item, you don't want to set up a new account. Like if I was to set up an item for renting a guitar, renting this guitar, renting that guitar, renting this type of amp, renting that type of amp, and so on and so forth, we could have a lot of items. We don't want a separate line item on the profit and loss breaking out each of those details of the different items. It would be too tedious to look at the profit and loss. The goal of the profit and loss is to have somewhat of a summary report to give us what we need on that report, and then to use other reports to break out that more detail that we might need. The other reports that we might use, if we go to the reports drop down, we go to the sales, we can look at the sales by item then. And I'm going to look at the summary, sales by item summary. We'll change the dates up top from 01/01/20 to 12/31/20. And this will give us a summary. Look at all the detail that is here. If we had all these items broken out on the profit and loss, it would be too much information. But we can get to that more detailed information over here and get the detail of the rental information. And if we had a lot more detail on rental, many more items for selling many different pieces of equipment, that would be appropriate to have here, and we can do that. Remember that you can filter this report up top as well by going to the customized reports and the filtering options. Closing this back out, if you want the detail of items by transaction of those items, you can go to the reports up top. You can go to the sales once again, and then you can go to the sales by item detail, changing the dates up top from 01/01/20 to 12/31/20. Then you can get the detail. Here's our items. Here's the detail for them, the detail of the transactions for that time period. Closing this back out. I'm going to open up the trial balance just to take a look and review where we are so far. We're going to go to the reports drop down, company or accounting and taxes, trial balance, changing the dates up top from 01/01/20 to 12/31/20. Here is our trial balance. This is where we stand at this point in time. Check the numbers, see if they tie out to what you have. If not, good practice to go back in and see it and fix it by using the auto zoom and checking the date ranges. If you would like to just push forward and if there's a problem and you'd still just like to push forward, then we will have backup files that you can restore at any point within the problem, and then just restore the backup file and you'll have the data ready to go for that point within the problem.